Welcome to Green Rapids.
Fantastic.
Zesty. Oh, that was so good. Welcome. We are here with Rebecca. I will let you introduce yourself, but we are so excited to have you here with us. We're going to be getting real about the environment and mental health today, right?
Awesome.
Yeah. So Rebecca, if you don't mind introducing yourself, letting people know who you are.
And what you do.
Yeah. So I'm Rebecca Spann. I am a licensed professional counselor. I am also the founder and executive director of our mental health collective, which is located here in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I have been a licensed professional counselor for 15 years. I love what I do. I love being able to give back to the community and have these conversations around mental health. I am a mother of 3 amazing human beings. I have a dog son as well named Pepper.
Gotta shout him out.
Gotta shout him
Always.
out.
It's like some people have a godson. You're like, I got a dog.
No, but he would hear this and be like, why didn't you tell them about
No,
me?
seriously. He works with me. So, like, if I was at home, he would
Yeah.
be right
Yep.
on my side. So, I got to give him a shout out.
Love it.
Yeah, I am passionate about all things, specifically around mental health as it pertains to communities of color. And that is because, from a very long time, I always had some curiosities around how do we have more conversations that relate to what we're experiencing and that we can do that in such a way that it feels good for us when we have those conversations. So, I look forward to getting into the conversation a lot more.
I do, because first of all, thank you for creating our mental health collective. I think it's really important. I think to your point, people of color need more access to these services, but also you understand this, and I'm sure that you can also relate, Nancy. People of color have this stigma around mental health, and often in the Black community, it's just not something that's praised. And so I see this like, it's almost like a wave, right?
Yeah.
Especially with Black women, or, presenting people who identify. So it's really exciting to have you in this space. And I think also just to have that energy exist in Grand Rapids.
Yeah.
So just thank you for bringing this to our lives.
Yeah, and I grew up in like a Mexican household that was also very conservatively religious. So there's always this sense of like, you don't go to a therapist, you go to your pastor.
You pray about it.
Pray about
Absolutely.
it.
Yep.
Yeah, if you're depressed, it's because, you're not right with the Lord. And there's just like, not to mention, of course, like patriarchal culture and this like Mexican masochism of like, men aren't allowed to show weakness or emotions or feelings.
Right.
So, yeah, it's great that, and I do see a lot of, people our age, like millennials, kind of stepping more into being more open about mental health struggles. So it's a good time to be BIPOC, I guess. In some ways, no, but in some ways, yes.
It's a good time, I think, to live out the expression, to try it out, to find your community, to search for those people. So I think it is.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. My mom, who is a white woman, I remember when all of the the diversity stuff started coming out during the pandemic. She was like, you should capitalize on this. And I'm like, you're not wrong. Up. You know what? Now's the time. We don't always have the time. So let's use the moment.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. And when you think about stigma in our communities, a lot of it has been rooted in safety. It wasn't because I don't want to have an outlet. It's I don't know who I can have an outlet with, and it will be safe. Because from a historical context, specifically Black people were harmed, and a lot of other races as well. But we know for sure, and me speaking as a Black woman, there were a lot of experiments done from the psychiatric standpoint on Black people. There were a lot of systems that harmed Black families. Social workers were not always the most praised people to know or to have around your home because of the ways that some systems were created a couple decades ago. So, when it comes to stigma, there's some roots there. There's a reason why. And 100%. We just kind of learned, hey, let's keep it within ourselves and let's stay protected in that way. But we also know that there were a lot of things that happened behind that safety. It was intended to stay safe, but there are a lot of people who are also harmed in that too. So now shifting the conversation conversation to say, we understand why you protected your family or why you protected yourself, but let's also talk about some other options that are out there as well.
Yeah. It's the system undoing.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
It's not about the fact that you didn't go get mental health. It's that's available. Let's talk about it. Let's utilize it in this moment because it is for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is something that I hadn't thought about too, is that, I mean, I had heard about how Black women especially were kind of many times, like, frankly, just abused by medical practices, and a lot of the medical advancements and research that we have now was performed on, like, people of color, and especially women of color.
Yep.
So I didn't realize that there was, like, a psychiatric side to that too, but I'm like, you know, it makes sense. And especially when you think of, like, CPS, who do you picture CPS going to?
Absolutely.
Usually those are families of color, right? So I thank you for helping me connect those thoughts. Just now.
Yeah. And then you also think about, just to add in something else too, who are typically the population that is treating, or I can't even say the word treating, but servicing or working for CPS that is going to the CPS cause. From a cultural standpoint, they don't, relate. And so then you have
it's not reflective of the communities that they're responding to.
Absolutely. So you have a lot of misunderstandings, a lot of situations that require deeper learning, and people just don't have that. So then that adds another layer of harm. So
Yeah.
So it's upset.
So can I ask then, I'm going to go ahead and assume that some of this has to do with why you got into being a counselor, being a therapist, you know, giving people these services, but really, like, how did we get here? How did you decide, like, what was the trigger that made you say, you know what, I want to do this, but also I want to do it for specifically my community?
Yeah. And like, I guess my follow-up to that would be like, was it kind of like an overnight decision for you? Like, were you one of those that were like, I always knew I was heading that direction, or is that something that you kind of like meandered into, you know, little steps at a time?
Yep. So I have always seen
Take us
myself.
back.
One time, I'm just playing.
Really.
I wanted to be a pilot.
Okay.
At one point, and my mom was like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
So that,
I wanted to be an astronaut. My dad was like, girl,
okay.
pick something else.
I mean, big dreams. Why not? And so I kind of felt like my mom was being a hater because my dad was for it, but she wasn't. But, you know, whatever. Then I wanted to work for the CIA. Oh my gosh! Yes,
catch me out of left field twice in a row.
Yes.
Ambitious, I love it.
Yeah, I did my research, and I was like,
maybe not.
This is not for me. But I think it's cool work, and shout out to the people that do that work and are doing things that we don't necessarily see. But yeah, that was not for me. But I came from a space of asking a lot of questions. And so as a child, I had a lot of curiosities about just things and people's behaviors and the way our family showed up and dynamics, and why would somebody say that, or why would somebody do that?
Yeah.
And it just kind of naturally led to me looking into psychology. So originally I wanted to be a psychologist.
Okay.
And that is a different route educationally. And once I did my research, I was like, no, I don't think I want to do that either.
Okay.
So I did my bachelor's in psychology at Jackson State University, which is a HBCU. Shout out
no
to
kidding.
Jackson State University.
HBCU.
No kidding.
And then after that, I went on to get my master's in mental health counseling. And so in my master's program, I was like, I'm just going to stop here at being a licensed professional counselor after I had to do all the other things. But
it's so much to go. I mean, that's a lot of school.
It's a lot. It's
a lot
about
of dedication.
7 years.
Yeah.
It's about 7 years. But it was worth it. I'm excited to be where I am. And so the reason why I was so, I recognized that there was a need for more conversations around mental health when I came back from Jackson, Mississippi in 2017, and I was with my family, and I'm like, where are all the other therapists that look like me? And so they existed, but we were just kind of scattered out. And so I'm like,
hard to find.
Yeah,
absolutely. And so I'm like, first of all, let's come together as clinicians and kind of create a space for one another to support one another. But then two, let's look into creating a directory so our communities can find us easier.
Yes.
And then that's kind of how that was birthed. And then from there, went ahead and made it a 501c3 and been able to do some support for the community and also for therapists as well. So, that's how I got here.
Oh, I love it. So I have roots in Jackson. My dad was born in the Jackson area.
Okay.
My grandpa recently, who just passed, he lived in Jackson, his whole life.
Okay.
Actually, I had sharecropping grandparents from Jackson. So they still have land out there. And, so it's just, I never really got to spend time in Jackson's. I just love hearing people, just talk about their experiences, I feel closer
place.
to you. You know what I mean?
It's a very rich place.
Yeah.
There's a lot said about Mississippi, but until you visit there and you understand the history and the people, it's amazing. Every place has its stuff, whatever you will, right? But I did my majority of my young adults, professional, if you will. I don't even like to use that word, but matriculation through school and early jobs in Mississippi. And it was such a wonderful experience. And that was another reason why I was motivated to bring some of that back here.
Of course.
Because when I worked in Mississippi before coming back to Grand Rapids, I worked on a team with 35 other Black clinicians.
Shut up.
We worked for
us in Michigan are like, no, you didn't.
I sure did. Heinz Behavioral Health.
But that's every day.
Yeah, that's Heinz Behavioral Health in Jackson, Mississippi, in the heart of the city. Is a community mental health facility, and they had children's services, adult services, and etc. And we literally were the children's services team, and our team was that large.
Yeah,
and so
35,
amazing, the richest experience I've ever had, from celebrating one another's children's birthday parties to etc. I mean, we were a small community, and coming back, I didn't have that.
Yeah.
And I knew how much it helped not just me to be a better therapist, but person.
Yeah.
So I wanted people to have that opportunity to have that here.
Yeah.
God, that's so rich. And I think it's so beautiful. I think this is part of the reason why it's important for us to get out of our bubbles.
Yeah.
Because you were able to go into a community that was now representing you in a way that maybe you hadn't had before. And then you go back to where you're from and you say, my community needs this. My people need to feel this. They need to have this experience, because that is what generational healing is, right?
Absolutely.
And man, I mean, it's just so cool. You just got a bunch of bonus points.
Okay. Points?
Yeah, we're racking them up. I'll let you know at the end what your score is.
We love personal history.
Yeah.
So I know you mentioned earlier that psychology was like not for you, but for people who may be listening who don't understand the difference, what is the difference between a psychologist and a counselor or a therapist?
Yep. Funny, I had this conversation earlier. So the word counselor and therapist are usually sometimes interchangeably used. If you are a licensed professional counselor, then of course we're going to use the term counselor heavier. So we'll say I'm a counselor. But then you have other people who also do counseling who use the term therapist.
Okay.
So a therapist is a person who is sitting down with you in a therapeutic space to provide space for you to talk about your emotions and life experiences. So you can use the term therapist and talk about anybody who is a licensed professional or professional, quote unquote, again that word, but a person who has been educated to help people walk alongside them. And so with that is the difference between the two. Now, a psychologist, they have a degree, they're a doctorate. So, they are a doctor, and they have a doctorate degree in psychology. And so it's a little bit different there. And then you have psychiatrists.
It's like less applied?
A mess.
Is somebody who is a doctor of psychology, is that just something that's more into like the theory, or maybe like more research based, more academic than something that's more applicable and
this is
public
a lesson.
Okay.
I am learning today.
So you'll usually find a lot of doctors in academia or upper. I think I just did it. Upper
academia.
Yeah. So you'll find a lot of them doing research. You'll also find a lot of them writing publications, although you don't have to have a doctorate degree to write a publication, but you'll see them in those spaces. And then again, they're very important because it does help to kind of push along a lot of different research studies and things like that are important for the field. So high respect. Now, a psychiatrist is also a medical doctor who has training in behavioral health, and so they know both sides. So they can sit down with you, offer you a therapeutic space, but then they also do have their license to prescribe medication. So they're a medical doctor.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Okay, so I had heard all of these terms before, but I never knew kind of what the nuances were between them all. So thank you for clearing that up.
This is why you tune into Green Rapids, because
Green Rapids.
because we're not just talking about the environment. Like, you're gonna learn something
We're also here to let
from
you know
a professional. I know we're not using that word
I
today,
gotta
but
find
Okay,
another
well
word
that's
for
that's
that.
gonna be my follow-up question, which is, what don't you like about the word professional?
Because the roots of it, when someone says professional, my question is always, who set the standard for what professionalism is?
yeah, that part.
So, my definition of professionalism might be totally different than yours.
Yeah.
And then if I'm in a room with people who don't look like me at all, their idea of how I should be presenting as a
Yes.
professional may be totally different.
Yep.
And so that is a very interesting term for me.
Yeah.
And I'm careful, because a lot of times when you use the word professional, it is rooted in this white supremacist, and more so, we know white men have created that standard of how you should show up in a space, right? Like,
This is how you should dress. This is how your hair should be. This
your
is how you should
earrings
say
shouldn't be
things.
big.
Totally right.
Yeah,
right.
I remember, like, in our parents, that generation was like stern about that.
Yeah.
I remember going on an
can't
interview,
be
and my mom was like,
flashy, yeah.
"Yes, like, make sure your earrings aren't big, and make sure your nails are like just red or no color at all." And I'm like, "Wait, what?
Like,
who
literally,
said
who
this?"
made this rule?
Exactly.
It makes
Who-
me
who
really
came
think
up with
of in some ways, like, respectability politics is asking you to make yourself smaller.
Absolutely.
You put it that way.
Absolutely.
So,
Yep. And so you want me to look like everybody else.
Yeah.
And that doesn't work. I'm going to be myself. And so I like to encourage people to be themselves. And so when we use that term, it can automatically, for some people, make them think I have to show up a specific way. And again, the term is used so different.
It's subjective.
It is. It is. Totally.
I mean, this is known as professional, what I'm wearing, if I go to a certain meeting. But to your point, like, there are certain places where I wouldn't wear this because I know people are going to think certain things about me. So it's like this code switch that's been, like, ingrained into us.
Totally.
But also, like, I guess I'm going to keep saying this. How do we break this stigma? How do we get away from these systems if we further perpetuate them? Right? So this is something that's really interesting to me, just because I think it leads us into the next thing, which is us finding ourselves in nature spaces. And I know that this is something that you're passionate about. Actually, this is what we got really excited talking about this, in our first couple of conversations, because this is all tied to our mental health,
Absolutely.
right? So we know that nature has the ability to lower our cortisol levels, right? Like, sounds of nature, sounds of water, having access to these things is very important. So talk to us a little bit about some of the work that you're doing there, and then maybe, again, what led you to this place? How did you get to the point where, not that we wouldn't want to talk to you, but we want to talk to you, about mental health and how and how our environment has a direct impact on those things.
Yeah, eco-emotions, if you will.
Eco-emotion.
Yes.
Eco-motion.
I like that. Yeah, because emotions move. And a lot of the work that I do, I always tell my clients to move, even if it's 10 to 15 minutes of a brisk walk or jumping up and down or whatever you have to do, because whenever you are talking about heavy emotions or you're talking about an experience that was challenging, being able to move those emotions, if you will, is very, very important for your body. So, like, if you're able to verbalize it, also move it out of your body as well.
Yeah.
And it also helps with processing and etc. So it's extremely powerful. But what led me here, 2021, I was just
COVID year.
tired. Yeah.
We survived.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
And after that, I was like, I want to just start moving my body. So backstory, before then, we were talking about riding bikes. And as a young child, I stayed outside all day long. That's how it was. Double Dutch bikes, playing in the dirt, etc.
All the good stuff.
But I used to go on very long bike rides.
were
I'm
just
talking
talking
about
about
from
this.
Southeast Grand Rapids to Ada
I
with my
love
dad. Like,
that.
seriously.
That's like a road trip.
It's so
Seriously.
cool.
Yep. And he would round up some of the other kids in the neighborhood neighborhood and was like, we're going to ride bikes today. And for
Love
him,
that.
it was very important because he wanted to keep them out of trouble.
Yeah.
But then he was like, for me, he wanted me to understand the importance of body conditioning at a young age.
Yeah.
Like, that's important for a woman to understand. And so now that I'm older, I appreciate him for that because I've been able to come back to that. And I'm like, wow, you know, it does
not
make a big
foreign.
difference. Absolutely. So, yeah, that. And then my mom was a walker.
Okay.
She stayed outside. Her and my aunt would go walking. They'll do little exercise classes together. And so
That's
all of that.
so
So I
cute.
grew up watching it. But again, you know, when you're young, you're not really paying attention to what's happening. I remember being on the Ottawa Hills track and watching them walk around in the circles, or I'll go with them. But at the same time, it really wasn't registering like what it was doing until I got older.
Yeah.
And in 2021, that's when I said, I want to make some tremendous changes to my life. Now, up until then, I've worked out here and there. But I said, I really want to tap back into like being healthy.
Yep. Yep.
And so I started a 60-day walking challenge. And I told myself, rain, sleet, hail, whatever happens, I'm going to walk every single day. And I did that. And the huge benefit was that I lost weight.
Yeah, right.
But that was not my intent. Well, not my intention, but that wasn't the initial goal.
You weren't like, I'm going to do this so I can fit into these jeans.
Absolutely.
But you did fit into the jeans at
And
the end of it.
and did and loved it. And so after then, I just kept going, and I counted all the way up to like 300 and something.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, this is too much of a chore. But now it's a habit. So being outside, I found that it really helped.
Yeah.
Not only me being a therapist, having a place to process, but in building an organization. Wow. Like being outside gave me so much, like it grounded me.
Okay.
And I told people, you know, if you're going through something, just grab a hold of something that can be like an anchor for you. And that's what walking was for me.
Okay. Yeah.
And so looking back on that time, I can honestly say that it saved my life in so many different ways. And I can't even verbalize all of the impacts of it, right? Because so much of it, we take it in and we enjoy it. But I do know for sure that without that period, I would be in a totally different space. So I'm so grateful for it. But not only that, I know the importance of being outside and how it does reduce cortisol and how you can get, I call it chasing endorphins.
Yeah.
You know, how you can get, some
There's
endorphins.
nothing like
and
being outside.
it's not. And it is amazing, like from the birds and the crunching of the leaves and the brisk air or the warm air or whatever it may be. It's just beautiful. And so people being able to get out of their spaces back into nature is so therapeutic. And I always use this term too. I'm like, there's medicine outside.
Yeah, right.
Go and get some. It's free.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so you can't bottle up endorphins.
Yeah.
Like they can't.
Yep.
But go get some for free. And I
Yeah.
think that's beautiful. So yeah, how did I get here? Understanding the power of it myself.
Yeah.
And, you
Love
know,
that.
being a huge advocate for being outside with my clients, talking to them about it. But then, you know, there's another layer to it. If it's not you being outside, how can you bring outside inside?
Right. Because not everybody has the same level of access for a number
Absolutely.
of different reasons.
Yep. So getting some fresh plants, whatever that might look like.
Yeah.
Making sure you're opening the windows in your home. You know, if it's the winter time and you can't, they have some, it's artificial.
Yeah.
But, you know, they do
Yeah.
have some happy lights
Yeah.
that can help
Yeah.
simulate, you know. So,
No, but that's such a good point, you know, and I just heard this yesterday, and I wish that I knew, it wasn't yesterday, it was this past few days, regardless. I wish I remembered who said it because it just kind of sparked something in me, and it's, activism is not what you talk about, it's what you do. It's how you live your life, right? It's caring about something so much that it becomes the things that you do every day. That's how we are activists for things. That's how we advocate for things, because people are watching us live that experience. And it's real, right? You can't fake it, right? We know when people are faking it. We know when we're being lied to.
We can sniff it out.
Well, sometimes we can't, but usually we're like, you know what? That
Something's
person's not being
off.
authentic.
Yep.
You know, or like, why would I listen to my counselor, my therapist? If they're not going outside, why would I go outside?
Yeah.
If they're not living it and living that experience, it does feel a little bit less real, right?
Yeah, and even just thinking about, the benefits you were talking about walking, I'm a walker too. I mean, I have a dog, so she requires walks, and I didn't realize how much that was really improving my mental health until, when I'm like traveling for work and I go a week without really, when you travel for conferences, you're like in a big room all day, right?
Yeah.
So those weeks I can definitely feel the difference of not being outside, not walking, not taking in the sun. So I kind of looked into it, and then, I learned that, for example, like listening to birdsong, like it lowers your like cortisol levels because evolutionarily, if there was birdsong, it meant that there was no predators or danger around, right? So it was like a sign of safety, like, because, like if there's danger in the forest, the birds are quiet,
They are gone, or they're like...
Yeah, or they're like rustling, they're flying away, but they're not singing. So like
That's good.
singing birds is like a sign of safety. So we're kind of wired to respond to that. And
that
then
makes so much sense.
And then obviously we all know the sun gives us vitamin D, which is like an important one for mental health too.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then obviously just like being emotional, I feel like, especially I think something that I see with people like my age and younger, it's like this like we go for like that cheap dopamine on like doom scrolling or
I don't.
just being on our phone.
Right.
And I had a wake up call with that a couple years ago. Like when Apple first came out with like the screen time manager. I think the first time I had like a bad day, but I didn't even realize it was a bad day until like the next day or until like the weekly report or whatever. And I saw that I had spent a day where I think it was like 4 or 6 hours in a single day on Instagram. And I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
And like, it just filled me with so much like dread and like almost like disgust of like, I just wasted my life there,
Yeah.
So I started setting so now I have like an hour of Instagram a day. And that's like, the app limit for that.
That's your cap.
But I try to be more But I try to be more intentional about, being outside and doing things that are like, I don't know, healthier options for like the dopamine. Or am I saying that right?
You are. Yeah.
Okay.
See, I've even noticed, like, as a biker, as somebody who uses a bike to get around or walks places, one, it's healthier. It's proven to be healthy for you after you eat a meal, right? To walk instead of just sit or get in your car and go somewhere else. But I am genuinely happy when I'm riding my bike. Like, I feel good when I'm going through traffic. I feel very, like, it's a sense of independence that doesn't feel unsafe. And yeah, just moving my body has without a doubt been the healthiest thing for me. Yep. The nice thing about doing it as a walk versus like you got to commute is like the commute is like, damn it, I don't want to do this right now. Maybe it's raining, maybe it's something else, but like
it's pretty much a chore when you
it's a chore. Some days I'm like, ugh. But you reach a point after that where you're like, okay, this is fun, this is cool, this is just what I'm doing. But with walking, that can be 10 minutes. That can just be going around a block. You're mad about something, go breathe. You need to think about something.
Clear my head so much.
It does. And then grounding.
Yeah.
There is a whole, oh gosh, it can get really nerdy. But
we love nerdy.
the fact that your body is touching the soil or touching the ground, the electrons from the actual ground are now being transferred into your body, and it helps to level out like your blood levels. Like, it's such a science behind it, and 10 to 15 minutes of grounding every single day has a significant impact on the way that a person feels, but also physically. Some of the healing that can happen just from that exchange. And there are people, and I'm looking at the screensaver, but there are people, and I think everybody should do it, but again, breaking stigma, tree huggers.
Oh, I love to hug a tree. I love it. It feels good.
But the reason why, because they're grounded, right? They're rooted inside of that same soil. So when you are able to connect with a tree, you yourself are also experiencing some of those benefits as well. And so the way we were created as human beings, everything kind of works together. But we've been so separated from that. So now when people talk about hugging a tree, it's like, who who's gonna
Yeah,
hurt
like
a tree?
everybody
You
thinks
know,
it's very
Yeah.
like frou-frou. Yeah.
right? And it's
Yeah.
like, no, our ancestors.
I was just gonna say this.
knew the importance of being outside.
Yes.
And, not only being outside, but also working the land and being farmers for themselves. I'm not
Yes.
even talking about some of the horrific
Yes.
things that
Yes.
have happened, but just for survival, the knowledge of the land and how to navigate it. And they were outside.
Yep.
And so, we were talking about Mississippi earlier, but one of the most amazing things that I love about Mississippi, even if it's 95 degrees, you're going to find somebody sitting on their porch.
Yeah.
It's hot, but so what?
Yeah.
They're sitting outside and they'll wave. And it's a huge reminder of being outside and being in community means so much more than just being in the house.
Yeah.
But it's a simple reminder. I'm just sitting on my porch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it feels so good.
It feels so
good.
different for sure. And like I love my porch. I sit there for, I just go out there to take the sun, to smoke, to watch my dog. And yeah, it's just I think especially having that convenience of like, oh, I'm like right outside my house. I
Yeah.
can go in whenever, but then I'm also like outside taking in, the elements. It just definitely feels really good.
Yeah. So this is something I want to talk about mainly because we know that in Grand Rapids, there's this unfortunate segregation thing that we do. I don't know
Oh, is
why. Yeah, right. Haven't noticed. But we do like to concentrate people of color, lower income individuals, into specific pockets
Spaces,
of our city. And those spaces typically are without green spaces. Actually, Tijuana, Tia, so she, with the
Tijuana.
Urban League,
Yep.
I got coffee with her one day and she and I were talking and she told me that one of the largest, if not the largest green space in the 49507 neighborhood is a cemetery. And so the lack of park, you know what I'm talking about? It's
Oak Hill.
yes,
Yeah.
right on
Eastern
and
Hall.
Hall. Yep.
I grew up behind there.
So if you go
Wow,
to
that's
aerial
the
view,
biggest one in the zip code.
go to an aerial view of the city. Maybe not the aerial, like the actual land, because you'll see it'll be misconstrued. But if you look at like just your regular Google Maps view, you will see there's this big old square right in the southeast side, and that is a cemetery. So people. Newsflash, we're not going to cemeteries to have a picnic, right?
But what's so
We sure don't.
interesting about that? Couple things. My brother was a track star back when he was in high school. He would go over to the cemetery to condition because where else
There's
do I
trails, yeah.
Exactly.
Well, there's clean breathing air because of all the green space. It is very, it's quiet. If you, I lived on Franklin and Eastern for 3 years. It is not quiet over there. And so having a space where you can just breathe a little bit and do your thing and be away from all of the noise and the stuff all the time, it's necessary to our make. And so what is something that because I know that this is something that you're passionate about. So helping people of color get into nature, or maybe just getting your own people into nature. But like, what have you seen that do for the people around you? And then, where I like to dream, right? So like, where can we go? Like, let's talk about how important it is now to bring more green spaces into these places, especially for people of color, right? Because this is that systemic healing that we're talking about doing.
And if I could add on to that too, I have a lot of friends that are still kind of like almost like stuck in COVID as far as they haven't, they have almost, not I want to say like agoraphobia, but there's definitely like a little bit of that fear or timidness about going back into the outside world again, even if it is just to a park or nature or what have you. So maybe what are some ideas you have for, entry level ways of kind of getting back outdoors and into nature?
So, one, your porch. Look around your own home. What is offered there? And to start building off of that. And so if it's just sitting on your porch for 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour, etc., through a porch party. Have some friends come over and sit on a porch. Or even, we're big for backyard barbecues. It's summertime. Let's play some games or etc. So, creating a community, but inviting your community into your space or even outside.
Yep.
Even as you think about the outdoors, how many activities can you do with friends and family outside? So can we go for a walk? That's a big one. Me and my friends will call each other throughout the week and say, what day we going to walk in? And so I'm not just walking by myself, but I'm walking with other people. Yeah. And not only builds and strengthens the relationship, but it makes you feel good as well because you went outside. You know, having lunch in the park and creating a date for some friends, doing that as well. But bringing other people along with you can be really, really helpful. Finding a hobby outside. So if that's gardening, right? If that's getting some plants, and then there are quite a few reasonable spots that are selling like plants. Baxter always has a veggie sale every year.
Oh yeah, and they're so affordable there too.
Yeah, seriously. And then I think I saw something at Garfield Park that's going to be in a few weeks. So, you know, there are some ways that you can do affordable like gardening, even if it's small. It doesn't have to be on this major scale, but you know, that's another way to get outside. And then enjoying outside in ways you've never done it before. So the rain, right? In the summertime, most people are against the rain and they feel some kind of way about it. But then
like
once
you're ruining the whole bit.
Exactly. But once you start to understand the importance of rain, especially if you're a gardener or you have plants or flowers in front of your home or whatever.
I'm not watering today.
Yeah, you enjoy it, but go out in it. And I'm not saying don't have an umbrella. I mean, if you don't want to, that's fine too. But also creating an appreciation for outside. So what does that look like when it's windy outside? Does it mean you have to stay in the house? No. As long as you're not going to blow away, go and see what it feels like. Or if it is raining, see what it feels like to have fresh rain on your skin. You know what I mean? So again, kind of pushing back on some of those. And I know me and Sergio, we're having a conversation about that. Like sometimes in our cultures, we've been conditioned to, you know, don't go outside if it's like that, or stay in the house. No, press against that and try it. What's the worst that can happen? And so those are some ways is to encourage other people to come with you, see what's around your own home and create your own space, and then create your own space. Like if you want to get some chairs, you want to make it look nice, do that. If you want to just enjoy having your own sanctuary type deal, create that, but making it your own and not being afraid of it, because that's something else, is that people sometimes are not afraid to explore, but just never thought that they could explore the outdoors in that way. And so giving yourself that permission to do it. There are a lot of parks that I will go to and I don't see anyone that looks like me. I go to Millennium a lot. You know, there are a lot of spaces that I go in and I'm the only Black person. And I'm like, why is that? But again, there has always been this, I don't know if it's stigma, but needing the permission, or not even needing the permission, just knowing it's okay for you to go. You might get a weird look, but so what? Like, who told you could be here? Like,
I would love to speak to that too, because that's one of the things that gave me, I think, one of the bigger bits of culture shock when I moved here from California, is that in California, if you go to Yosemite, if you go to Sequoia National Park, if you go to any of these things, you'll see people from every corner of the world. And you'll hear 5 different languages at any lookout spot. And it's not weird to see BIPOCs in nature. Like, it's just like everybody's like, I was out in California for Christmas and stuff. And for New Year's, we went up to Sequoia National Park, and, you know, just being surrounded by all these different languages, all these differently clothed people, you know, like, it was great. But it reminded me of how here in Michigan, a lot of our spaces are very white in nature. And even just thinking, I went with Erica up to the UP a couple years ago, and it's almost scary, especially when you see certain political signs kind of all over, and you know that it's not a safe space for you. And even like she and I had walked into a diner, and I kid you not, like it felt like the volume significantly
1950s.
lowered. Everybody turned and looked as we went and sat down, and you know, it was like a weird little vibe. But yeah, I feel like here that's like ingrained in my memory.
That's somewhere in my suppressed memory.
But I think there's definitely almost, and this is actually, I actually even went to one of the natural resources, I don't know, the parks, the state parks people's, like I went to one of their, they were taking feedback at one of their Zoom calls, so I had joined literally just to say, hey, like sometimes people of color, these spaces feel hostile if there's not people who look like us on the staff, and there's not other people that look like us camping, and if there's not people that look like us on the trail, like those places can feel a little bit hostile sometimes. And
So it's important for us to feel a little bit more bold, especially if we do feel a little bit safer or we are more used to it.
take a friend, take a buddy.
It's important to invite somebody. It's important to show people that you're enjoying yourself. I think it's important to enjoy yourself in front of people who don't think you should be there enjoying yourself.
Absolutely.
And I think normalizing our presence in those spaces is part of that process.
We're allowed to take up room. And I thought when you said not even only just giving your permission, invite yourself outside. Invite yourself to that party because it is for you and it is your space. I mean, all of this is our space, right? There's not one person that Millennium Park is made for.
Right. And then if you want to get even deeper,
Please.
like the land that we're on,
Whose is
it's all
it?
stolen.
Thank you.
Right. So who told you
Yes.
that because
That you can make people of color feel uncomfortable in a park.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like we are on stolen land.
Yeah. So that's a thing. And I am also convinced, and I'm sure that there is some research behind this, but the socioeconomic status of communities of color and their access to outside or their involvement with outside, I feel like there's some correlation there. You think about LA, right? I went to LA and kid you not, same thing, very diverse, and saw everybody outside, walking, jogging, like it was a thing. I was like, is this an exercise class? No, like this was just every
Have you been to the Hollywood sign? It's like it's like a pilgrimage.
Yes, and we did that whole part. And I was just like, whoa, this was amazing. But then again, you also look at some of the other opportunities that these same communities have access to, right? Yeah. You think about Atlanta, Georgia, and Stone Mountain.
Oh, okay, Stone Mountain.
In a mountain. In Atlanta, it's a huge hiking spot, but Black people. It's a ton of Black people that go. Yeah. And again, you look at the socioeconomic status and access that Black but yeah,
I think part of it, one, storytelling is valid research. You going to a park and seeing that in certain maybe more affluent areas there will be people of color in these parks, so there might be some kind of correlation. I know that one. Have you ever tried go camping without gear? It is, it's expensive. You don't know what you're doing.
I dropped like $500 for my first like solo camp, like not solo, but like my own self-organized.
Yes, or you're missing something that you needed, or you should have done it in a different way. And I think that information is a little bit gatekept. I don't know that information has been gatekept on purpose, but it's something that like most people in white communities already know. Yeah, just off the top of your head, this is what you do. This is how you do it, and I think that is not the same thing, especially for people who don't have access to like social services, so that the food that they need. It's not going to be the same level of understanding. So I do think it is related, and I think that's really unfortunate because, it shouldn't cost anything to get into nature. Yeah. I mean, some of our most beautiful pieces of this United States is our national parks, and those are incredibly difficult to get to, and you really don't see very many people of color at national parks.
Yeah, I was trying to but look into and do the finances around a trip to see the sequoias.
Yeah.
The airport you got to fly into, it will probably be LAX, and then we would have to drive to the actual park.
Which is like a 3-hour drive.
Yeah, seriously. So I was like, wait a minute, this is not really the easiest trip to plan. And that's my youngest daughter that wants to go. So I was like, of course we're going, but yikes. That's a whole thing, right? So, it...
Yeah.
And I've been thinking actually lately, I'm like, man, I need to take a vacation. I want to go somewhere warm. I want to get into somewhere secluded. But to your point, you got to fly there. You got to get a car. You have to plan all of these things. Not saying it's not worth it, but it just creates this incredibly difficult process to getting there. And most people just don't want it to be hard to be able to breathe a little bit.
Especially for folks that are already experiencing economic hardship. And then what that makes me think of too is how urbanization has changed a lot of our culture is with our relation to nature. Like, your grandpa was a sharecropper. He was living on the land. Like my folks are from like a ranch in Mexico. They were living off the land. And I feel like sometimes there's this gap of like when success is found in the city, it suddenly also gives like a different connotation to being outdoors or being in nature or living off the land. Because then you tend to focus more on like almost like a more material lifestyle. So I'm wondering how that separation also culturally has created this, like, as folks are becoming more materially affluent, how that can also sever that connection from the outdoors too.
Totally. Yeah. I had the privilege. My grandparents were sharecroppers in Missouri.
Okay.
My grandfather left, kind of set up shop, if you will, for my grandmother and the children that were back in Missouri. And he purchased a lot of land in northern Michigan. So our family has like a family compound up there.
Okay, very cool.
And we own land and et cetera, et cetera. And we
Smart
grew
man.
up. Yeah, we grew up in that space. And so, you know, understanding the importance of being, we call it up north, just going up north.
Yeah.
But understanding that having a space like that is so therapeutic and being able to just step away from the city and have that fresh air and be able to, you know, be in land that has not been filled with pesticides and, you know, fancy
Yeah, it's like
grass
what
companies
are lawns
and all
in the
that.
grass? Yeah.
Right.
Lawns are a lie.
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah.
Man. Well, you know, I never want to stop talking to you, Rebecca. First of all, we talked for an hour at lunch before we got here, but then an hour now. But no, I really appreciate this conversation, and I think it's super important for us to just hear, like, go and sit in the grass, even if it's just 5 minutes while you're waiting for something, do it, right? So I guess we like to usually round up with like a call to action. So if you have one, I would love to hear that. You know, what can we do to offer to folks to be able to make that correlation between the health of their mental and having access to a healthy environment?
In these trying times.
Yeah. So one, I would just say, do it. Get outside.
No matter what kind, right?
Just get outside. And then once you find yourself enjoying it, like, go around your block, understand your neighborhood, be familiar with one around your home. What does that look like and how does that feel? What kind of plants and weeds are growing around your home? Like, how can you grow appreciation for outside first? So then spin your block a couple times. And then after you do that, say, I want to look into some more parks. There are parks throughout the city, right? Some of them you might be able to ride a bike to. You might be able to get a ride to. You might be able to walk to. There's
Take a
different
bus,
trails,
whatever.
etc. So just try to figure out different ways that you can access those spaces. But if not, fall in love with your neighborhood. And you might give yourself some purpose while you're there. You might see that you, you know, meet a new neighbor or etc. You just meet new people.
You might grab a couple neighborhood kids to go on a bike ride.
Seriously.
You know,
Seriously.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
I love that.
So starting somewhere.
Yeah. And I'll go ahead and add to that. Invite a friend, especially if they're brown.
Yes.
Invite a friend to go with you.
And be safe.
Yes.
I talk about walking, but I am licensed to carry.
Okay, yeah.
And then I also do carry mace.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that is to ensure my safety. There are a lot of stories of people being harmed in outside spaces.
Yeah.
And so that's just using some
Especially
wisdom.
as women.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just using some wisdom. But also, you know, if you are outside, be aware of your surroundings.
Absolutely.
Don't have on noise canceling headphones. And if it's just you, because you won't be able to hear if somebody's walking behind you or what might be happening in your environment. So being safe is also a component of that as well.
Yeah.
I'll also add a call to action to that, which is to check out a climate cafe. I co-host them monthly with Nate Ralburi from the Grandpa's Climate Coalition. Well, he was. I think he's not just with Just There.
Okay.
And I'm trying to find a date for the next one because I don't know it off the top of my head.
But you're doing it outside.
But there is, it is in May, and we are actually planning to do this next one outside. And I have the date here. It is going to be May 16 at 4:30 p.m. And we are going to be, well, if you register, you'll see the address. But we're going to be at Lookout Park in the Belknap Lookout neighborhood of
We
Grand
love
Rapids.
it.
So it's a great space where we really just, it's like, we call it a fix-free space. We really just come to talk about our emotions. A lot of folks don't have people within their circle that they feel like they can talk about climate with, because it's so, politicized, like polarizing for some folks. So it's a great space to come, chat, get things off your chest, and, just be in community.
Yeah,
Perfect.
I mean, and it's nice.
Rebecca, obviously, you are extra invited to that. And I can send you the link to Rebecca.
I was just about to say, what time is that?
That's at 4:30.
Okay, perfect.
So let me send you the link to that.
Look,
right now.
Climate Cafe. It's like a little mini therapy, but
It
like
is a
not.
mini
And also, you're not the person who needs to give the counseling. So like, you just go there and
Just
talk.
going.
But even just letting people know how much you love nature and being in it. It's good to hear. So. Thank you for your perspective, for your time today.
Absolutely.
And really for bringing this space to Grand Rapids. I am better for our mental health collective. We all are better for our mental health collective being, in existence.
Get the good dopamine.
The real stuff.
The real stuff.
Yeah.